Hi, students. This is a video to demonstrate how to do a think aloud about a poem in a pair. This is Jessica DiPaolo, who took my 101 last semester. She's actually taking 102 this semester, and I asked her to do this demonstration with me because she's used to doing think alouds. And I thought it would help you guys to see what it sort of looks like when two people do one together with the poem. Before Jessica and I start the Think Aloud, I just want to remind you where all the resources are for doing your Think Aloud this week. So this is our module for this week. And if you scroll down, things are, there we go. To where it says learn about metacognitive conversation and how to do a think aloud, that's where a lot of the important materials you need are going to be. So there's a video here that introduces you to think aloud, which is really important for you to watch. And then if you go to the next page, there are instructions for how to do one with a partner. And I'll post this video there later today. But the other thing you really need to do a think aloud besides the poem is you need this form. You're going to take notes on the form. So remember, you're turning in two things. You're turning in the link to your video or the, or an MP4 or whatever form you decide to take. You're going to upload that to Canvas, but you're also turning in your notes. So only one of the two of you, you and your partner, have to upload the recording, though you should put both your names in the comments box so I know who to give credit to. Not everybody's going to necessarily upload something. If your partner says they'll upload it for the two of you, you're good. But everybody should be uploading their notes. And when we do a think aloud, we take notes on two things. The first thing you're going to do is take notes on the strategies you notice your partner is doing as they read to try to figure out what's going on in the poem, to try to solve problems in their reading. What strategies are they using to try to understand the poem? And you're going to scribble those down here in this left-hand column. On the right-hand column, you're going to write down what specific observations is your partner making about the poem. So you're doing this first think aloud with pretty short poems. So you might just have like 2 to 5 things in each of these columns, and that's fine. And they don't need to be complete sentences, and you don't need to type them. You can just scribble them on and send me a picture, however you, or upload a picture, however you want to do it. But you need to be observing both these things when your partner is thinking aloud. And then you're turning in these notes to just show me that you were kind of noticing these things during the think aloud. Jessica, can you think of anything I might have forgotten? Any other tips you might want to give or anything?
Just don't be afraid. And if you don't have anything to say about one line, that's okay. And I think that some people, they just try to do too much and they try to think about it beforehand. But I think what you want to do is just see how people are reading and how they're learning kind of on the spot. So don't put too much time into it beforehand.
Yeah, when Jessica and I were preparing to do this, I was like, don't worry about sounding smart. It's more important that you just show you're willing to explore the poem. It's not, we'll, in our later discussion, we'll kind of sort out, well, that we were on the right track there. We weren't on the right track there. But at this stage, we're just exploring together. That's all we're doing. Okay, so Jessica and I picked a poem, which I don't think either of us have read. Now I can't find it. I thought I had just lined it up. Let me just see. I'm going to try again to find it. Sorry. we picked a poem that neither of us have read a lot. So we're just going to be flailing about trying to figure out this poem. And this is a poem about birds. Let's see. Yellow-billed cuckoo. That's the one, right, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay. And did you say you said you wanted to go second?
Yes.
Okay. So we have picked out a poem. This is our poem. And Jessica wants to go second. So we're going to divide the poem into half because there are two of us. So it looks like I'm going to do the first two stanzas. And Jessica's going to do the last two stanzas. And as I think aloud, Jessica's going to take notes on what I'm doing to try to understand the poem and what kind of insights I make about the poem. And I always like starting with the title. So the title of this poem is Yellow-Billed Cuckoo, Years Post-Trauma. So that title is kind of interesting to me because the first part of it is clearly about a bird. And then it says years post-trauma, which makes me think that this speaker, this poet, has something very traumatic in their past. So that makes me think both those things might be happening together in the poem. And of course, I'm curious. So told I'd never see one, but I did, in spite of his noted shyness, awed by his sunny bill. So I think what's happening here in the beginning is this speaker thought she would never see this bird, and then she did. And the bird is shy, which I guess is one reason she never expected to see one, or people told her not to expect to see one. So it's kind of like a miraculous thing, maybe, that she sees this bird. And she's awed by his sunny bill. He has a bright bill, I guess. Its downturned tip made perhaps to add a look of wisdom. So I'm thinking at the end of a beak, you know, sometimes there's a downturn that she's talking about, and it makes him look wise. A bit bigger than a mockingbird, similar gray. So this bird is bigger than a mockingbird, similar gray as a mockingbird, though a different spirit. So maybe like a different personality. One I quite admired. So she admires this bird. He moved intentionally, head cocking side to side, soothing. So I'm not exactly, you know, maybe he moves carefully, his head is cocking. I'm not sure what she means by soothing. Does it soothe her? Is he soothing himself? I don't know. And I caught the eye gleam, clocked a long time, standing still enough to see him preen. So she sees a gleam in his eye, watches him a long time, and she's being really still to not disturb him, to see him preen. I think preening means like kind of showing off or strutting. I'm not sure. The spread of tail feathers. So maybe he's spreading his feathers like to find a mate or something. Their bold dots catching light, just hours after talking to the woman who'd saved me. So she's noticing these tail feathers with dots on them catching the light. So she's noticing this really beautiful thing. And then she's connecting it to this woman who'd saved her. And she says, talking to this woman just hours after I talked to a woman who'd saved me when I was young and cornered. So this makes me think of the trauma in the title. Maybe she's thinking back to something traumatic in her past that she'd been saved from. The woman who'd saved me when I was young and cornered, frightened as I've ever been. So now, Jessica, will you take over?
Sure. So I like to print it out because that's just how I do things.
Yeah.
So the next day I saw the pawpaws scattered. So the next day, maybe after she saw the bird, or after, not sure if it's after she saw the woman that saved her, maybe after the traumatic incident, it could be. She saw the pawpaw scattered. So pawpaw reminds me of a fruit that's like a cherry moya or like a custard apple. And so she's out in nature because she's on the trail. So maybe she's on like a nature trail or something. And oh yes, as a child, I sang of picking them up, putting them in a basket. To me, that was like an old song. Maybe the traumatic thing happened when she was a child, or maybe she's thinking back to a simpler time when she was a kid and she used to notice these things. For the first time, I touched them. So that's kind of interesting that it's the first time she's ever touched them. Um, Bruised on the ground, then glanced up to see their light green perfection nearly hidden in the leaves. Um, so maybe she's starting to notice little things about nature and kind of immersing herself in like fruit picking kind of thing. Later, I ate one with my child. So this is later on in her life when she's older, a shock of candy sweet. And we wanted to go back and basket them, like when she was a kid, putting them in a basket. And yes, for so long, I didn't understand all the ways I was being carried, listened to, and believed. So this makes me think like maybe the bird is listening to her, or maybe nature's listening to her. And on this very day, the cuckoo let me draw near, ruined enough now to realize my luck, the goodness here, a kind of love unseen, to live the understory. So that makes me think of like a canopy, like an understory, like she's with the birds and she's noticing all these things, and the bird let her get close to him. Um, so maybe this traumatic incident kind of made her like open up to nature in a weird way, and maybe she feels kind of supported by it, because she can blend and feed and be, maybe like the bird or something. So I really like that poem. It's I like how it's about like nature and kind of feeling comfort in it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I also think that word on the last line, to blend and feed and be, like a bird blends in, like there's some way she's learning to blend in. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's really cool.
Um, so that's what we do. And I I just to give you guys an idea, I'll post our notes up on Canvas, but some of the strategies that I saw um, Jessica doing, I saw her guessing, when she wasn't sure, and kind of um, putting off, making theories. And also I saw her making connections with her personal experience, like she knew what pawpaws were, which we were talking about a little earlier. Um, and then I also saw her kind of considering alternatives, like maybe this is happening later that day, maybe it's later in her life. So she was kind of exploring all those different possibilities. As in terms of insights I saw her making, she saw that the person was on a nature trail. She was saying right there at the end, you were saying something about how like she's opening up to nature, which seems really right to me. I don't know if you want to say anything about what you took notes on, or we can just post it later. Either way.
Yeah, I actually just sent it to you in the chat.
Okay.
And I noticed right at first you started with the title when you were picturing the title in your mind and bird. And you were saying it was interesting that the title mixes the bird and the traumatic thing in the past, and you were kind of curious about that. So it already had your mind going and wondering and asking questions. And then you were thinking about in the beginning, the speaker didn't expect to see a shy bird and that it was kind of a miraculous thing, and how the sunny bill has a downturn, and that um, she was admiring the bird. And you were guessing how like she was making differences between a mockingbird and this type of bird, and that you were not sure about soothing, what she meant by that, and that you were reading it, um, the gleam in his eye was not to disturb him. Oh, she was trying to be still and not disturb him, and the light with the connecting the tail with on the dots with a beautiful thing, and connecting it with the woman who saved her, and making you think about the trauma in the beginning of the poem. And then you weren't sure about what like preening meant, and maybe it was spreading of the wings. So that's what I had written down in my notes
And
as
we'll
she was talking about it.
and we'll post both our notes just so you can see an example. But that's really all there is to doing a think aloud. It's not about being brilliant or right or whatever. We'll figure all that out later. It's just exploring with somebody else and kind of noticing their strategies. So you can borrow strategies and trade strategies and benefit from each other's strategies. Okay, email me if you have questions. And I will see if I can. I'm going to stop the share. Let's see if there we go. I'm stopping the recording.